Today on the show, we discuss the attempted political assassination during a congressional baseball practice in Alexandria, Virginia, and what we as Americans are doing wrong in its aftermath. Also, there's a lot that Jeff Sessions doesn't know or doesn't recall, and Funkhouser is in a long-distance online relationship.
Hey, we've met IRL.
IRL?
In real life.
Nerd.
Now on your radio, AD on the radio.
So I'm sure you've heard at this stage in the game, but a gunman opened fire on a whole bunch of Republican lawmakers. They were practicing in Alexandria, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C., for a charity baseball game. Republicans versus Democrats. Bipartisan good times. The gunman was a guy called James Hodgkinson. He was from the St. Louis suburb of Belleville, Illinois. He died from his injuries. He was 66. He owned a home inspection business. And I guess a bunch of stuff that he had up on Facebook indicated he was strongly opposed to Republicans, to put it mildly. Hard to determine exactly what was going on. I mean, obviously the act of a deranged lunatic, but looks like it was an attempted political assassination. And you know what? Say what you will about Trump, but, and by the time you hear this, he might have said a bazillion things that negate this statement. But he did exactly what I'm doing. He called for unity at a time of division. He said, we are strongest when we are unified and we work together for the common good. I guess he was a volunteer, this guy Hodgkinson, a volunteer on Bernie Sanders' political staff as well. He did something for him during the presidential election. Bernie Sanders had to come out and condemn it immediately. And he had to. I feel bad that he had to, because obviously it's a terrible, awful thing, and people are going to associate it with him. And so he had to say something. Can't stay silent on this. Hey, this guy was a big fan of yours, and look what he did. Goes without saying. Any sane human being is against senseless acts of violence. But he had to come out and disavow immediately. Anyways, the thing that kind of blows my mind about this is that, A, people are politicizing. We must be better. We could all agree on one thing with Trump. The guy sometimes doesn't have that much of a filter between his brain and his mouth, or his brain and his Twitter account. He shoots from the hip. He says what's on his mind when it's on his mind. But if Donald Trump, as unreasonable as you might think he could be, is the voice of reason, calling for unity, saying we are strongest when we are unified and when we work together for the common good, if you listen to one thing he says, listen to that.
The black hole of despair, the clenched fist of doubt. What if things were really getting better?
Hold on, folks, we're expressed to the top floor.
Now, more AD on the radio.
You know, before we get back to the news, I gotta play you something. Here's a taste of how many times Jeff Sessions said he didn't remember or didn't know about Russian involvement with Trump's advisors when he testified before the Senate the other day.
I did not remember that. I don't remember that. Well, first, I don't know about these reports. I'm not aware of. I just don't remember it. I still do not recall it, not to my recollection. I don't have any recollection. I didn't know he would be in the audience. I don't know how much more he said about it than that. I'm not sure what was in his mind explicitly. I'm not able to comment on that. I don't know how that occurred. I don't know how I would characterize that. I don't know, Senator Rubio. I don't believe in my conversations. Nah. Well, I'd have to rack my brain, but I don't recall it. Don't think I had any direct involvement. So I don't recall that. I don't recall any such meeting. I don't recall any such conversation. I don't recall it, Senator. I'm not sure. I have racked my brain, and I do not believe so. I don't recall any. I don't have any information that he had done so. I have no information that he did. I don't recall it. I don't recall. I don't not recall. I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I do not. I do not. I don't believe so. I cannot say with certainty I did not.
Mm-hmm. All right, Funkhouser, we'll talk about the new dating app that does not even require you to swipe or text. Might open up your dating world in just a little bit. Right now, let's finish up what remains of the news.
Fired Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer is leaving the company with a $260 million severance package.
I want to get like a really big job running a really
Yahoo
big
have
company.
That money?
And then they've been going since the beginning of the internet, you know, like
$260 million for
$260 million. Like they were Google before Google was Google. And I know they haven't done as good a job at being a search engine as Google have, but like they got in at the ground floor of the internet. It would take some serious heavy lifting to get rid of all the money that they made off of what they'd done. So yeah, $260 million. I want to get hired to do a very high-profile job, do a lousy job at it, and get a massive severance package. That sounds like a thing, right? It's like when David Lee Roth... Do you remember when David Lee Roth replaced Howard Stern?
Oh, do I? I was working there when that happened. Oh, I do.
So what, you were working... when you say there, where?
I was at the L.A. Affiliate headquarters.
The whole idea, this is a little bit of radio inside baseball, but Howard Stern became such a huge and dominant force in radio that people went, we can never let anybody have that much power again, because when they bounce, it's a big deal. So they decided to split the country in half. They gave Adam Carolla the West Coast and David Lee Roth.
On purpose like that. It's just they couldn't find anyone good enough. I was one of the producers for the 6 months before they picked Carolla and David Lee Roth. They went through all kinds of people.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Huh. They couldn't find anybody with the heat, man. Nobody could throw the heat.
I mean, it's just, it's not so much... At some point, it becomes less about... I mean, first and foremost, let's just say this right here, right now. It's Howard Stern's world. He created it. We are existing in it.
We're the next of kin.
Oh, yeah. We're here because he's here. There was a period of time where Howard Stern would get mad that people were ripping him off. You know, like, they're ripping me off. And this was when he was on the rise. Howard Stern's, to me, like, he's the Tony Hawk of radio. He is, like, no one will ever dispute that Tony Hawk is the single greatest skateboarder to ever professionally skate. He's not a professional anymore in that he doesn't compete against other people. He doesn't go for X Games medals, but people really want to see him skate because he's the best there is and the best there ever will be, probably. So, like, people pay big bucks to go see Tony Hawk on a skateboard. That's what they do. And that's sort of where Howard Stern is. He is not in a position where he needs to compete against other people for first place in New York City and all these major markets. He's the very best that there is, the very best that there ever was or ever will be. The way media is shaking out, there will never be another Howard Stern just because of the way everything's so fragmented because of digital technology. He is a once in a lifetime occurrence, and no one has ever or ever will top him. It's just the way it is. But there was a point where people were talking about Howard Stern and him saying that he was being ripped off by folks. And people probably were ripping off his shtick left, right, and center because he had such an incredible run at absolutely dominating the airwaves. But now it's not even like you're ripping off Stern. It's just you exist in a world that he created. All of us would be doing something completely different. All these radio stations that we're on wouldn't exist or would be playing a very different type of music and have a very different type of on-air personality if it wasn't for Howard Stern and Nirvana. Howard Stern and Nirvana created the world that we're in. I mean, Howard beforehand, because he was around before the 90s, obviously, but it's just that every time I crack open the mic and I get to talk to you, every time I get on one of the many music stations I'm on and I get to talk to you or somebody else like you, I'm incredibly grateful to Howard Stern because this is the best part of my day. And without him, the world would be a very, very, very different place. Oh, we're all out of show.
That's it.
We didn't get to talk about... All right, Funkhouser, just so you know, there's a new dating app. It's called First. It doesn't have a messaging option. Just immediately sends you on a date with people. You choose when and where. The other people can accept the date, and you choose who you go out with. Yeah, so you just, like, ask someone on a date. It's either a yes or no question, no getting to know you, no, like, what sort of things are you into?
No, thank you.
I like your profile. Want to meet up? No? Good. Moving on to the next one. That sounds expedient.
Nope.